All the flowers blooming. It's a sunny day. Kicking back and chilling. There's no better way. We're all in this together. Sure as the birds sing. Join me now in my backyard. Talking about different things. Backyard. And your yard is my backyard. My yard and your yard is our backyard. All around the world. My backyard. Hi, welcome back to Backyard with Sheree Brown. That's me.
Hi, Sheree.
Hi, Gladys.
Hi, everybody.
I'm so glad you came back this weekend. For those of you who are new, it's so good to have you here. Last week we were talking about mental wellness and issues that crop up behind that. Depression, loneliness is something else that happens that we didn't talk about. Well, we talked about that a little bit with my little story. And anxieties, that's a really big thing too. But a lot of it can start off as a young child. Our most formative years is from 0 to 5. And one of the things that is very prevalent now, especially with the internet and social media, is bullying. And it goes on for all ages. And as an adult, we still are bullied. We just call it something else. So the thing is, if we can reach our children at a young age, that could change the world. To teach them how to love and to be accepting of others and not to be mean, but to be kind.
What's that?
Oh, well, it's what I want to share today. It's a book. It's called, let me get it and show everyone. It's called Jakanaka, the Word. And it's written by my husband, Deacon Douglas Johnson, and a friend of ours named P. Hunt, who, by the way, did the illustrations in the book. So I wanted to do a quick reading of this. This is a book for children of all ages, even for adults, because we're all somebody's child. And there's still that childlikeness somewhere in there. So I'm going to read it to you. Jakanaka, the Word.
Jakanaka.
I was thinking about folks like you and my grandbaby, both my grandbabies, my grandchildren, when I was writing this. But I was also thinking about when I was young. It was an ordinary school day in an ordinary city. Sitting in an ordinary schoolyard, away from the other children, was a 10-year-old girl named Alex. She was about to have an extraordinary thing happen to her. As the school bell rang and the other children lined up, Alex didn't move. She knew the school bell meant that it was time to go to class. Until today, Alex liked going to school. Instead, she sat at the far end of the schoolyard, very sad, as tears welled in her eyes. At that moment, a cool breeze whirled through the yard. A huge shadow like that of an airplane circled and then passed over Alex and the place where she sat. She looked up wondering what could cause such a strange thing. As she stood up to get a better look, she noticed an unusual shadow on the ground. It moved toward her faster, faster, and faster. Alex felt the breeze again. As the shadow got closer, the wind got stronger. Alex closed her eyes because it felt as if the shadow would bump right into her. Again, the shadow passed over her. This time she heard a voice mixed in with the sound of the wind. It echoed a word she had never heard before. Shakanaka. Alex opened her eyes, and standing there in front of her was Mr. Jesse, her favorite teacher. When he asked her why she was not in class with the rest of the children, she began to cry. She told about how they pulled her hair and they hit her, and today they did this, Alex said. She held out her hand, and in it were tiny pieces of ripped paper, what was left of her homework for today. Mr. Jesse thanked Alex for telling him what had happened to her. He promised her that he would do everything in his power to make sure it would never happen to her again. But that's not the worst thing, Alex cried. She went on to tell Mr. Jesse how the other children had made fun of her and said cruel things to her. Is that what they think of me? Alex asked. I can never go back to school to face them. Mr. Jesse sat next to Alex on the schoolyard bench. He looked at her with his comforting eyes and said to her, I wish I had just the right kind of magic that would fix all of what has happened to you, but maybe this will help. A wide, gentle smile stretched across his face. On the back of one of the torn tiny pieces of paper that Alex still clutched in her hand, he wrote the word, Jakanaka. Alex looked at the paper, then at Mr. Jesse, and she said, What does Jakanaka mean? Mr. Jesse answered, The word is from the Shona language of the people of Zimbabwe in Africa. Then he told Alex this story. Years ago, there were some children stolen as slaves from Africa, the motherland, bound by chains, shackled, and condemned by racist hands, mistreated and abused because of how they looked on the outside, but kept strong by the faith and character they held inside. Freedom came through lessons learned from the stories they were told by a storyteller named Mzee, who was very wise and old. And one day they were able to overcome the crisis they were in. Their chains were broken by the belief and hope they had deep within. He said, hold the messages close to your heart and they will never end. Share them with all those you meet as you travel well, my friends. And so, to tell those stories of hope for all people in the future to come, they flew away not for a single life, but for the lives of everyone. At that moment, Alex looked down and saw two shadows flying across the schoolyard. One shadow looked like that of her teacher. Beside it, the smallest shadow looked like hers. They floated down to the schoolyard together. Mr. Jesse said, Though our feet never leave the ground, it is our hope and belief that makes it possible for us to rise above what other people say and do. That's why I wrote Jakanaka. It means have a beautiful life and travel well. Now, Alex smiled that same wide, gentle smile that Mr. Jesse smiled. And she said, I'm ready to go to class now. She picked up her book bag. Accompanied by her teacher, Mr. Jesse, Alex walked back to her class and toward her beautiful life. The end. Travel well, my friend. What'd you think?
Wow. I love that.
And I also want to share a song that speaks so much to being bullied and believing in yourself and overcoming that, because really and truly, bullies have a problem. It's their problem, not yours and mine. Bullying is something that has gone on for years and years and years. It's just gotten worse because of social media. And so there's a lot of suicides going on as a result of people being bullied online and bullied in person. And some of the ages are younger than we are used to hearing about. And that really is saddening. Hurt people hurt people. Hurting people inside hurt people. And so one of the things, Gladys, is that I tell folks and share when I'm, doing my workshops about bullying, that sometimes we can't do anything about what other people do. Of course, if they're hurting us physically, we have to go and get some help. Tell someone, especially if you're a student or child, tell a grown up or a teacher. But a lot of times it's about knowing that we're beautiful inside, and that's something that no one can take away from us.
Yes.
And it's nowadays we have it all around us, even in the White House. And sometimes, I try not to be political, but sometimes we have to speak out about the truth, because truth brings on power. Power comes from truth. And the only way we can change things is to truthfully address it. And so we have to just know that that person is probably hurting. And then we have to continue to do as many positive things that we can to counteract that. And send out love to those who try to hurt us, especially through words. So this song is about a little boy who played the horn. And people used to come up to him and say, "You can't play that horn." And he said, "I can." "No, you can't play that horn." And he kept on practicing, and he said, "I can." And before you know it, he was playing his horn. So the story goes like this. Little boy blue, what's going on? Little boy blue, won't you play your horn? Little boy blue, little boy blue. Little boy blue, no matter what goes wrong. Little boy blue, you keep playing your horn. Little boy blue, little boy blue. And the story continues. Living life day by day, wishing that he had it made. Only time that you win's on the television, he is hoping for a better way. Chasing the tail with a smile, sorrow can laugh for a while. He just has to begin. The answer lies within. Besides, giving up's just not his style. Little boy blue, what's going on? Little boy blue, won't you play your horn? Little boy blue, little boy blue. Hey, hey, hey. Little boy blue, no matter what goes wrong. Little boy blue, you keep playing your horn. Little boy blue, little boy blue. Now, out there's a desert land, but little boy blue has a plan. In his heart, he has known he'd come into his own long as he keeps on playing his horn. Little boy blue, keep playing your horn. Little boy blue, what's going on? Little boy blue, won't you play your horn? Little boy blue, little boy blue. Little boy blue, no matter what goes wrong. Little boy blue, keep playing your horn. A little boy blue, a little boy blue. A little boy blue, little boy blue, little boy blue, little boy blue, little boy blue. Woo-hoo. Little boy blue, little boy blue, little boy blue, little boy blue. I saw you over there dancing.
I love being here. I love that story and that song. I just love sharing this time with Sheree and all of you in our backyard. I'm going to be back next week. Yeah!
It's always good to be here, sharing this time with you. Till we meet again, remember, just keep sharing that love. It makes a difference for you, me, and the world. Remember, like and subscribe. you can go to my website to get the book, Jakanaka, the word, and the song Little Boy Blue from my children's album, We're All Only Children. Go to www.realsherrybrown, that's spelled RealSheree.com. That's one R. Real Sheree Brown. Backyard.